The Kiriji War was the longest and most destructive civil war in Yoruba history. It was fought between the powerful Ibadan War State and a coalition of eastern Yoruba towns known as the Ekiti Parapo. The conflict arose from years of political domination, economic exploitation, and military oppression following the collapse of the Old Oyo Empire, and it permanently altered the balance of power in Yoruba land. After the fall of Old Oyo in the early 19th century, Ibadan emerged as the strongest military power among the Yorubas. Through its well-organized army and experienced war leaders, Ibadan extended its influence over many neighboring towns, especially in Ekiti, Ijesa, Akoko, and Igbomina regions. These towns were forced to pay tribute, provide soldiers, and accept Ibadan-appointed officials. Although Ibadan claimed to be maintaining order, its rule became increasingly harsh, leading to resentment and widespread dissatisfaction. Tension reached a breaking point in the 1870s. A prominent Ekiti war leader, Fabumi of Okemesi, was humiliated and punished by Ibadan authorities. In response, he rebelled and killed the Ibadan officials sent to discipline him. This act of defiance was seen by Ibadan as an open declaration of war. Determined to crush the rebellion, Ibadan mobilized its forces and marched eastward. Realizing that individual resistance would lead to defeat, the oppressed towns formed a united military alliance called the Ekiti Parapo, meaning Ekiti United. This alliance brought together Ekiti, Ijesa, Akoko, and Igbomina warriors under a common cause. Their headquarters was established at Imesile.
As to think, men, we will work together to win this war.
And leadership of the allied forces fell largely to Ogedengbe Agbogungboro of Ijesa, a fierce and disciplined commander whose strategic skill inspired confidence amongst the allies.
Great warriors, we the only of all the enemies of honor. Great warriors, we the only of all the enemies of honor.
Fighting began in 1877 and quickly spread across eastern Yoruba land. The battles were intense and prolonged, taking place in forests, hills, and narrow paths where ambushes were common. Both sides employed traditional weapons as well as firearms, particularly Dane guns. The loud thunder-like explosions of these guns gave the conflict its name, Kírìjí, derived from the echoing sound Kiriji produced during battle. During the Kiriji War, a lot of metaphysical mysteries were said to have taken place. People using powerful charms, like throwing eggs in form of explosive devices, and so on. But one really thrills the mind of people. Most sources say that this really happened, but its veracity cannot be totally ascertained. It was a situation in which Ogedengbe did a mysterious wonder during battle. The sun had barely risen over the dusty plains of Ibadan when the clash of warriors began. Spears thrust, muskets crashed, and war drums thumped like the heartbeat of the earth itself. Among the Chows, Ogedengbe, the mighty warlord of the Ekiti Parapo, led his men with unmatched ferocity. His presence alone striking fear into the hearts of his enemies. But then came the moment that would etch itself into history as legend. Amidst a torrent of gunfire and arrows, a skilled marksman from the opposing Ibadan force struck through. Ogedengbe fell, his head severed from his body. Silence seemed to sweep over the battlefield for a heartbeat. Soldiers on both sides stared in disbelief, convinced the battle had claimed its greatest hero. Yet, what happened next defied reasoning and rattled the soul. With a slow, almost deliberate grace, Ogedengbe's headless body bent down from the dust at his feet, a figure unseen by mortal eyes guiding the falling head in a motion so fluid it seemed choreographed by the winds themselves. The headless torso lifted the head, placed it perfectly back on his shoulders, and straightened up. Ogedengbe's eyes met those of his stunned soldiers, fierce, unwavering, and alive with the fire of battle. Without a pause, he raised his sword and charged back into the fray, cutting a path through the enemy as if nothing had happened. Whispers spread like wildfire. The headless general walks. Ogedengbe is protected by the spirits themselves. Unlike earlier Yoruba wars that ended quickly with decisive victories, the Kiriji War became a prolonged struggle of attrition. Neither Ibadan nor Ekiti Parapo could achieve total dominance. Villages were destroyed, farmlands abandoned, and trade routes disrupted. Famine and disease followed, while many captives were taken and sold into slavery. For 16 years, the war drained the human and economic resources of Yoruba land. As the conflict dragged on, British influence along the coast and in Lagos increased. The continuing warfare threatened British commercial interests and missionary activities in the interior. Consequently, the British officials began to intervene diplomatically. Pressing both sides towards peace. In 1886, a ceasefire was arranged, although sporadic fighting continued for several years. Final peace was achieved in 1893 through treaties mediated by the British. The war extended without a clear military victor, but its political consequences were decisive. Ibadan's dominance over the eastern Yoruba towns was broken, and the Ekiti and Ijesa people regained a measure of autonomy. At the same time, the prolonged conflict weakened all Yoruba states, making them more vulnerable to British colonial control. The Kiriji War marked the end of large-scale inter-Yoruba warfare. It stands as a powerful reminder of the dangers of internal division and the heavy cost of prolonged conflict. Its legacy shaped the political landscape of southwestern Nigeria and paved the way for eventual imposition of colonial rule.